Good morning. It's getting on to 9 a.m. Oh, I'm late this morning, aren't I? January 22nd, 2022 on the East Coast of the United States. And oh, it is 37 degrees out there. And it feels particularly chilly because it was raining yesterday. Oh, and you know how that damp cold just can go right through you. Well, I was going to make some recipe with double espresso scuro this morning, but if you remember yesterday, I was showing you how I was repairing this broken handle from this air fryer, and I couldn't get into these drawers because I had this moved too far over. So I needed to put a little more glue on it, and I realized, oh dear, my double espresso scuro is in these drawers. So I'll be making something from one of these drawers today. And this is what I'm going to do. Okay. So I've got about 3.5 ounces of oat milk. The Oat Planet 45 calorie oat milk in my milk frother. We'll get that going there. And you know, usually I just make one of these original line capsules when I'm making a latte. But I thought this morning I'm going to try it with two, which is how most people do it when they're making a latte, to get a really strong coffee flavor. So I've got Vanilla Eclair, which is a barista creation. And this, let's see what it says. Sweet Harmony Vanilla Eclair flavor blends into a round, smooth Latin American Arabica espresso. The vanilla flavor brings a velvety layer to the taste of this Nespresso flavored coffee. Okay, so this is a rather mildly flavored and mild intensity coffee, but it'll be interesting to see how two capsules work out in approximately 3.5 ounces of milk that I'm frothing there. So I've got my machine heating up. You can see the light flashing. I'm going to use my original line Pixie machine. Here we go. So the lights flash until the water's heated. I've got a nice big cup here because, you know, I'm going to have a lot of milk, and then I'm going to have 2 espressos. So while we're kind of waiting, well, we don't have to wait very long. The milk is frothed. But what I was going to tell you is I was reading about using salt in coffee. Have you ever had somebody put salt in coffee? Here, let's get this in here. Doesn't that look good? Well, I've known a lot of people who used to be in the military years and years ago, and they used to always put salt in their coffee before they brewed it. And we'll get this going. I read about that, and apparently salt helps to, well, actually, this is what it does. If you have bitter coffee, okay, maybe low quality, cheap coffee, or, you know, I hate to say it, but it could be expensive, good quality coffee, but it's just too darn intense and strong for you, what you can do, there's the first one, I'm going to put the second one in, is put a pinch of salt in it. And what happens is, when you taste the bitter coffee, it has a certain physiological response that tells your brain that it's bitter. But when you have the salt in there, it kind of mixes up the signals a little bit so that you're not tasting salt or bitter. Your other tastes, particularly sweet, your ability to taste sweet, gets heightened, so it makes the flavor of the coffee seem sweeter and less bitter. So isn't that interesting? But if you have a nice, good quality coffee, spoon here, you do not want to put salt in it, because the salt will end up masking those subtle flavors. That's the whole reason that you got that special coffee to begin with. It's just like putting in milk or cream or sugar. It will very often sort of overshadow or mask or dampen down those special, subtle flavors, make the coffee less intense. Now, if you want to do that, then yeah, if that's your reason, you want to get things less intense, put something in it. Now, it's probably better for your health to put in some milk, or cream. When we get to sugar and salt, well, it just depends on your own particular health, because, people tend to get really too much salt these days. But then you only need to put in a pinch. Now, Alton Brown, that guy that does recipes, I think that he uses actually quite a bit of salt. But one of these little tiny salt packets, that comes in, you get it when you get takeout food, and they'll put a little salt and pepper packet in there. This has maybe a 1/16 of a teaspoon, or less than 1/8 of a teaspoon of salt anyway. You could probably dump that in there. That would probably be okay. Just don't overly salt your food, and then you can put salt in your coffee if you need to, especially if you're stuck with some cheap, bitter, yucky coffee and you have, no availability of better coffee. But let me give this a taste. We can see this is a lot stronger than what I usually make, because usually I'll just have 1 capsule of espresso, and now I've got 2. Oh, it's funny. I'm used to I'm expecting a milder flavor. Let me taste this again. Oh, I feel like I'm appreciating this Vanilla Eclair flavor more so having the 2 capsules in with the 3.5 ounces of frothed milk. How do I know it's 3.5 ounces? Well, see the little spinner down in there? I have filled this with water till it almost covers the spinner, but the spinner's just barely sticking out, and I've poured it out and measured it, 3.5 ounces. If I pour enough in to completely cover every part of the spinner, 4 ounces. So I don't have to be dirtying up a measuring cup every time, but it's 3.5, 4 ounces. It doesn't matter. That just happens to be the amount I'm using, because that's the size of the frother I have. Your frother may be different, and just make whatever tastes good to you. And you know what? Sometimes it's worth dirtying up other measuring devices, to get a really good cup that you really enjoy. Well, anyhow, I'm going to enjoy my latte on this chilly, chilly morning. And remember what I told you about the salt, in case you ever served a bitter cup of coffee. Just, get a little pinch, put it in there, stir it around. It may well take care of the problem.